Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Tower of Babble podcast. As always, I am Julian Mush. I'm joined by Jeremy Kozier,
Hello.
and we are going to be talking about this is episode 167, by the way, and we're going to be talking about the Matrix 4 trailer. That's kind of the big one to talk about. There's lots of things have happened since we're last kind of doing a news show. So we're going to kind of pick and choose the kind of some of the more recent things, some of the things that are kind of exciting to us. And we'll try to make it quick, a little in and out update on the news.
Not
You just
not too
can't
quick, but
you just can't not talk about the Matrix 4. I mean, you just can't
oof.
that trailer's gonna drop, and you're just not gonna talk about it. No, that's impossible. So that's what we're here to talk about today. But before we get into that, let me just remind you, you can follow us on all your favorite social media platforms. You can actually follow us on Instagram. I don't mention that very often, but you can. It's mostly just audio clips from the show. You can find that at Tower Babble Podcast on Instagram. But mostly, I would say follow us on Twitter at Tower Babblecast, Facebook, same place, Tower Babblecast as well, and head over to our website, towerbabble.ca. That's to find all the stuff we do, including links to all those places. And if you want to help support the show, go to patreon.com/Tower Babblecast, and for as little as $5 a month, you can help support the show, keep the lights on, and we do an exclusive Patreon film club. Last month was Face Off. It was a massive success, in my opinion. And
Wait, how is it a success?
I think the episode was a massive. I just had a blast talking about it and watching it. And watching it and thinking about it, and dreaming about it, and we're going to be continuing the Cage theme, and we're going to be doing a little movie you might have heard of or might not have, more likely not have, called Snake Eyes from the late 90s. And
Which you've never heard of or seen, right?
I had never heard of or seen. But I can appreciate that this is, by the way, not the new G.I. Joe movie, but I can appreciate that this is a movie by Brian De Palma, and that alone is gonna, is giving me hope. I'm not one of those people who's down on Nicolas Cage. In fact, it's quite the opposite. I think he's a pretty good actor, generally speaking. If you've seen the movie Pig, which is this movie from this year where he stars as a chef who lives out in the woods in Oregon on his own with a truffle pig, and it is so good. Jeremy, you would love this. I think you would love it. I think it's so good. It's so cool. Little slow. Warning, a little slow at times, but really cool movie, and he's really good in it. But for me, it's the '90s movie stuff, Jeremy. It's the movies out of the
'90s nostalgia.
But it's not good nostalgia. The movies out of the '90s are I say this all the time. We were kind of screwed. We were born early, like late '80s, right? '89, and so
Screwed
'80s
for what?
by. What do you mean?
How are we screwed?
Well, because the '90s was Marcos in the chat. Good to see you. We do this
Welcome
live,
back.
by the way. Whenever we do it, which if it was on a regular schedule, would be way easier for you, I'm sure. We'll work towards that. And it's just great to see you in the chat, Marcos. Great to have you here. And you can join us live. We are live on Twitch, on YouTube, and on Twitter. So you can find us on all those places. And what was I saying? Oh, the '90s. I just think the movies and the music from the '90s wasn't. I just don't think it wasn't as good. I think if you were ranking
the movies from the '90s are not that good.
I just think they're not as good. Like '80s, people think about '80s movies, '80s stuff. We've been living off '80s nostalgia for a long time. Maybe '90s nostalgia is coming. It is making its pass, but I just think '90s and early 2000s, the music was kind of shitty and the movies were kind of shitty. That's like there's obviously exceptions to that, and I'm sure everyone will point to their favorite boy band. Or The Matrix obviously is a great film. I'm not saying that there wasn't great stuff that happened there, but I just think that there's just some stuff that we just didn't get that, like, for Jeremy, there wasn't a Star Wars movie for until we were our
I don't know. I think we got to do a little bit more. Maybe make some lists here, some comparisons.
Sure.
I don't know. I think you're a little too soon on this take. Maybe.
Tom is also in the. in the chat. Love to see you, Tom. Good to see you. But yeah, Jeremy, put that on the list. Put it in the book. Hold on, I
Put what, sir?
I don't have the book near me. This idea of ranking the decades in content as a concept. We need to remember to do that. Someone write this down. Okay. Also, you might be noticing we normally have a camera on for this, and you can usually see my ugly mug. But the camera's broke today, so I have to fix it. We're gonna get it back for our live shows, but just bear with us on that. It's just gonna be audio and these sweet stills of Jeremy and I and Keanu Reeves. So speaking of Keanu Reeves, the Matrix 4 trailer dropped, and it was teased earlier in the week with a few stills, right? The Matrix, by the way,
there's
Matrix
a website
Resurrections.
you go to as well, where you could you click the blue pill or the red pill, and it would
give
you
really?
a little teaser.
That's fun.
Like a little snippets of visual snippets.
I'm a fan of that. I like a good viral marketing campaign. But again, Jeremy, I guess we've seen the trailer now. I'm looking, by the way, there's a really cool poster. I'm on the IMDb, which is a white poster with a red pill and a blue pill. I like that. Yeah. It's called The Choices, and it says The Choice is Yours. Love that. This is obviously directed by Lana Wachowski. I saw some really interesting stuff. Obviously, they've been doing the rounds and talking about their movies and all that kind of stuff, and the Wachowskis generally. And Lana's sister, which her name is slipping my I can't remember her name now, but she basically said hey, why didn't she was asked basically why didn't you come back to the movie? Why didn't you come back with your sister to come back to this franchise that really defined your career? And she basically said she felt like she told the story that she wanted to tell, that there was nothing really there for her this time, so left it with Lana. She's like, she's going to do a great job. And so I thought that's really fascinating, because what that really ultimately points to, a couple things, is that they had obviously a disagreement about what they thought a sequel to the Matrix movies would be, right? That is I'm so compelled by that narrative alone. I don't need to know anything about the Matrix as a movie, as a sequel. Sorry, Matrix.
Well,
Resurrections, but
go ahead. Even the two sequels which they filmed back to back, Reloaded and Revolutions, right? Those sequels have so many haters. There's so many knocks on those two films, for the choices they made. And
have you seen them recently?
I have not.
They're not, Jeremy. They do get a lot of hate, but there's defenders out there too. They're not very good, especially in comparison to the first movie, because Matrix
for sure. I think that's
crazy good.
I think that's the thing, is that is a known just fact. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't touch that first movie, and the choices they made to do this back-to-back filming of two sequels, which basically it's just one big movie. It was one of the first times, that they did something like this. Lord of the Rings, right, did this shortly after. You kind of you film these things, all together, even with Endgame later on, or Infinity War too, or I should say, or those two movies.
Yeah.
But a lot of knocks on those ones. So, but just briefly, just going over this trailer and knowing what came before it, this seems to pick apart all those previous things that were in those two sequels, in terms of this tone, its color palette, it just seems so much more released from the confines of what should be in a Matrix movie or Matrix sequel.
Yeah,
that this, even though it has these bits and pieces and the pills and it just seems what is happening here. It's so awesome to see Keanu back in this role. You have Trinity, her
Carrie-Anne Moss.
Carrie-Anne Moss, yeah, she's back. Man, it's just this trailer. It was it just kept upping the ante. They show so much, just little bits and pieces here and all that stuff, but it just was all so exciting and just so intriguing.
Well, it brings me right back to how excited I was and interested in that world, because it was so new and cool, right? And now it feels a little bit now. So you mentioned some of the kind of these callbacks to the first movie that are in the trailer. Now if the whole movie's like that, I have concerns, because what I don't want it to feel like is a retread, right? I don't want it to feel like, hey, we don't want it to be member berries for the Matrix, right? That I think that's the worst case scenario. We come into this and it's just like it's the first movie, but slightly newer. That's I would be so disappointed. But I think they've selectively chosen what they want to show. Obviously, of course they did, but
Yeah.
Strategically here with scenes that draw you into that original movie, right? I love, by the way, that he's popping these blue pills. He just
Yeah, there's so many of them in one
he's
shot.
going to see Neil Patrick Harris, and these different psychologists or whatever, and they're just saying like, you're not crazy, all this kind of stuff, and it's like, oh man, okay, they're really gonna go ahead.
Yeah, no, it seems so detached from those two sequels. You know what I mean? Like it just
Mm-hmm.
is like it's almost like Inception almost. It's like he doesn't know where he is or something, but he has all this history, and like that history that we saw in the first trilogy like ended. You know what I mean? Like it was like a weird finale to all that stuff.
Yeah, it felt really it was disappointing. It just felt like it didn't
It just tried to
close in a
answer it
satisfying
tried to
way.
answer a big question, but like still leaves it up to like too much too wide of an interpretation maybe to where it's
Yeah.
like okay whatever. Um, and just really played on what it set up, right? With like the chosen one, and like there's been versions of before, and like just like the prophecy, but then they switched it and they actually won instead of everything being destroyed. Like that was just such big, scope things. And
Mm-hmm.
then this is just like having fun in that world, but it's the same characters and they're evolving, and that like there's one point where he's like manipulating like a missile and like
Yeah.
bending it or whatever. It's like that's a natural progression of like what you think of Neo and like what he did
Right.
before. But
He
what
can
he did, but
dodge bullets, but now he can
he can
dodge
just stop. He can
missiles.
just stop them. Well, he stopped them
Right.
before too, but like,
Yeah.
but now he's not like just sitting there all dope
He's
looking
not.
in a
Yeah.
black coat. Like
Exactly.
he's
Yeah.
like almost disheveled and just trying to figure this out. And like these powers are just I don't know. It just seems like I think inevitably there's going to be retreads of the first one. Like it's just so
There has to be.
special.
Yeah.
But I think like when you use the word selective, like yeah, for the trailer obviously you gotta be selective, but like I think they probably selected like the right things to kind of bring back or call back on not everything, but like the just key things and just evolve them maybe, or some of them might be for a laugh, or just to have that, you know, just
Or change
included
your
in a Matrix movie.
expectations, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, you think this is going to be a retread of the first
Yeah,
movie?
if they're
Well,
going to separate your
you know,
expectations for sure. That's
yeah,
what the best movies these days do, I think.
right. And it's like, and it's easy to say, oh, well, that's an easy choice to make, but it's like, there's a million ways to subvert the expectations from the original movie, but can you do it in an interesting way? And hard to say. We don't know yet if if they're going to be able to do that. But I think that one of the most fascinating parts of this whole thing is that you've got all these characters back. You've got Keanu Reeves back. You've Carrie-Anne Moss back, right?
Neil
But
Patrick Harris.
Neil, yeah, famously. But I think, but like the quote unquote trinity, pardon the pun, of actors. There's a notable, there's a notable absence of one, right? In Morpheus. And you have Yahya Abdul Mateen II,
Just
who's
killing
playing
it, just in everything now.
well, yeah, he's a really good actor, but it's amazing how much he looks like a young
Is he
Morpheus.
supposed
Like,
to be a young Morpheus in this?
we don't know. That's what's so fascinating.
Yeah,
I don't know,
because
Jeremy. He's wearing the glasses.
they're gonna bring in new questions. Right? There's even that one sequence where like uh, Neo is like looking at a mirror, but like the his face is like changing to different people's faces essentially.
Yes, yeah.
So it's like that could be part of like what this character here is like. Maybe Morpheus is dead, but like what is that? What does that even mean? Like when we're talking about the Matrix, you know?
Well, there's this concept of like, obviously it's called resurrections. The original movie has talked about this idea of cycles, that there was a one before, there will be ones again, but I think the idea here is that maybe, I'm just speculating obviously, that this is supposed to be the reboot, the reset of the Matrix, like it always does, right? but something isn't right this time. That that Neo has transcended this reboot and is kind of like catching up way faster than the first time, right? I really like that idea, or that he has like way more power in some way. I don't know, but there's obviously a lot of question marks. But it's crazy to think that this movie is coming out in like 2 months.
Yeah, it's like you like we knew of this movie, but like when you get your first taste of it and then it's being released a few months later or whatever, like that's just such a cool feeling
Yeah,
because you can kind of stay in that zeitgeist or that ride, that hype train,
mm-hmm.
and just kind of ride it out slow. Like it's not even, it doesn't feel like it's slow or anything, you know, it's just gonna, it's weeks away. And, you know, you almost look
Well,
at it that way rather than like
Jeremy,
a year away.
imagine not knowing that there was a Matrix reboot, like quote
I
unquote
think
the
there's
regular
plenty. I think
person.
there's plenty of people. Yeah, there's plenty of
Yeah,
people who don't know for
they're like,
sure.
yep. They're like, and then they're just like, sorry, excuse me, Matrix Resurrections. Excuse me, what? Wait, we
Yeah.
Keanu Reeves is back. What? Carrie-Anne Moss is back. Who's this? Wait, where? Who's this young Morpheus? Like, what's going? Like,
Yeah,
could you just imagine the place you would be in? Like, I just get like, we chose a path, Jeremy, that just says we don't get to experience those emotions in that same way. But at the same time, because we're so much more invested in these movies, as a concept.
Wait, what path did we choose?
The path of knowing about Matrix.
Oh,
4.
knowing,
Yeah. To be invested
because we know that
the stories.
You know, we know that really it's all that matters is when you finally view it, when you finally see it, right?
Right.
Like that's the real thing, and that's what I'm so excited for this movie too. Like we talk about like '90s movies, like I'm pretty sure this is '99.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and you know, for people who are just like ultra fans of this, you know what I mean, like who like actually started dressing like these characters.
Jeremy,
and,
I thought we'll just put it this way. You're talking about ultra fans. What was my name in Super Smash Brothers Melee for like, and it still is in every version of Super Smash. It's Neo because I thought it was the coolest shit.
Consider yourself an ultra fan of the Matrix?
No. I mean, I think I fell off. I mean,
I feel like we were a bit young on the younger side of the like your typical like your main type of Matrix fan. All I'm saying is I'm just super excited for the fans of the series and who grew up with that movie or changed their views on a lot of things. Like it's like a very important movie, I think. In cinema history, really.
It influences it. The release of the Matrix changed the course of filmmaking. It's just like its influence is. I saw a tweet today. I thought it was so brilliant. It was basically said, think of the influence that the Matrix has on pop culture, and then triple that because it's probably not even as big as you think it is. That's how much of an impact it's like. It's touched so much stuff, and we can't even fathom how much of an impact it has. And the fact that, by the way, Keanu Reeves, who I would say most people consider to be like a bit of a kind of like a caricature. Like he's not like. Do people really think he's like this great actor? Like I don't think so. They just like his like he's a person he's a personality, you know? Like he's just a vibe now. He's kind of transcended this, especially with John Wick now, right? I think of like when he came on stage at E3 for Cyberpunk, and he's like, I love you. He's like, no, I love you. You know, like there's this whole like he's just got a whole thing now. But I don't like he's so important to film because of the Matrix and because of his role as Neo. But like again, I don't think I could be wrong. Correct me if people think I'm like an insane person for saying this. I don't think he's a very good actor. I'm just gonna put that out there. He's just okay, in my opinion. Like what's he doing? What did he do as Neo that is like so transcendent as a character, other than like the character is interesting?
Right.
But
yeah, I don't know. I just think he really exudes, you know, the struggles of whatever is happening, and like I think it's easy to say that now because he's later on in his career doing it's like Liam Neeson did all the action movies. You know, it just he was super hot and he's in everything, so it's easy to blur those lines. But from what my understanding is that he's like a Tom Cruise, right? His the craft of acting, he is levels beyond so many people because of his work ethic and his interest in it and the amount of time he puts into it, right? Like
especially the choreography.
Especially the choreography and like the stunts, right? Like he And like you mentioned, like the E3 speech or whatever, like that really like put it over the edge. But even before that, right? Like he had speeches about how he professed his love for movies, about uh making them and viewing them. Like
Hmm.
there's just like nothing like negative about this guy. Like he's just
He's
always doing
basically
cool things.
he's Teflon, man. Like nothing can affect his image. I think he's kind of basically untouchable. We have Rachel Wilkinson, obviously one of the Tower Babble contributing co-host for Small Screen Star Wars. She's in the chat. She says, "No, Keanu is 10 out of 10 the best actor and guy." So I agree that he's 10 out of 10 best guy. Agreed, no issue there. I'm thinking that we're conflating the two a little bit, and he's maybe like an 8 out of 10 best actor, 10 out of 10 best guy.
But
That's kind of
what movie have you seen where you're just like, I don't buy this, or like
well. I mean, I think of movies. Obviously, there's like Bill and Ted, but like people really like those movies. I
yeah, but that one
take
is
like
that's so early on in his career, and then they just did a new one recently that was pretty good actually.
I, oh, I haven't seen all of them all the way through and all that kind of stuff. But
But like that one has nothing to do. Like that one is
I
like
agree. But
you
I'm just
can't
like
really use that for acting
I'm
ability.
I'm
Like
sure
he's
I
just like a
agree.
dude, bro.
So,
Like
but I
just
think
dummy.
that's kind of his vibe. Like he's just kind of like a dude, bro. That's kind of
Ah,
like I think of the same thing in John Wick. What's he doing that's so interesting or different than what he did as Neo? Like it's not
yeah, but
that
you don't need
different.
John Wick to do anything interesting or different. You need John Wick to be John Wick and be a badass. That's it.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Listen, guys, I'm not trying to make this into an indictment
Hey
on
man,
Keanu Reeves'
you're looking
ability
for
to
hot
act.
takes, and I don't know. I think you're off today.
I'm not saying he's a bad actor. I'm just not saying
Leave
he's.
Keanu out of this. Leave him alone.
All
Just
right, fair enough.
back down.
Everyone chillax, okay? To be fair, I haven't seen Speed in a very long time, okay? So,
The Replacements,
well,
Constantine. Come on.
Jeremy, we're pulling from movies from, it's been a while, is all I'm saying, you know? Um, I will say this, he voices a character in Toy Story 4, and it's freaking he's really funny as that character, and I thought that's actually not a place I expected to see him, and he popped up in that movie, and I thought, wow, hilarious, how fun. He plays Duke Kaboom, which is like a little toy that's supposed to be like a stunt man, but he's really putting on this like really thick Canadian accent, and it's man. Okay, I'll give him props for that
Right,
for
there you go.
sure. Okay, all right. So anyway, anything else you want to say on the Matrix 4, Matrix Resurrections?
Um, I mean, like I just watched as soon as I saw like the notification, I watched it on my phone, and
Mm-hmm.
then I haven't even seen it on a TV yet. I don't know. I might even hold off.
Oh, Jim, you
Uh,
got to watch it on
but
TV. Come on.
yeah, well, I was just so blown away. I'm like, I just couldn't believe everything they were showing, and like it just looked incredible. Um, and then even the end when they had like that music come back, like that orchestra or whatever, like that
Mm-hmm.
classic kind of string or whatever. I was like, oh man, like let's go. Like, and like you said, it's so close when you really think about it. So yeah, I'm just so stoked.
Guys, so I've made some enemies here. Rachel's saying she's screaming that I'm only acknowledging him for Toy Story, and that Marcos is saying I just wake up hating Keanu every day, and that's just not true. I just won't. I just don't. I just listen.
You're throwing shade here. Like
I am.
like Matrix
I
4 is
am, and
coming
it's
out.
not fair.
You
It's
know,
not
Bill and
fair.
you're bringing up Bill and Ted in terms of acting ability. It just doesn't. It's just it's too many holes here.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. I'm excited. What I'm really stoked about, for just staying on Matrix for 2 more seconds, which is the like, not the stuff that's happening in the Matrix necessarily, but the like the real world, quote unquote, stuff seems like it. I always thought it looked really good at the time, and it still does. I think it holds up, the CG and everything that they do with the machines. But with the tools that we have at our disposal today, from a CG perspective, I can't wait to see what the machines are doing, what they look like, and what's happening in the real world. Give me a new Nebuchadnezzar, you
But we
know?
might not be getting any of that too, though. That's the thing, right?
Well,
Because
I think we.
they were so centric in the sequels, right? And like you talk about creative differences, and one of the directors not wanting go on with it, and then all the gripes with those two movies. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I really feel like this trailer, for me at least, like just really distances itself from the like of those two sequels and like what you'd expect. Uh, specifically with the color palette and just like the look of it. It's like
You don't think it's as green? Is
yeah,
what you're saying?
exactly. It's just not as
Yeah.
green or dark or like let's wear sunglasses and long coats and like it's just like it just seems more open and like just really fleshing out like what is like to me it just made me question like what is the Matrix really? Like we thought we knew kind of what it was, what it looked like, you know. But yeah, this trailer just made me just question it more and just looking for more answers. Like I just think this movie, yeah, this trailer is just oh man, I can't wait.
Well, Jeremy, I'm 100% with you, by the way, on all this stuff.
Maybe not 100, but that's okay.
It's very close. It's very, very close.
Low 90s.
Marco's asking in the chat, are we talking about Shang-Chi?
You know what?
Marcos,
you missed that.
you just missed
you
it.
You weren't quick on the gun this time around.
You just missed it. We just did a full review of that. We spent an hour talking about that movie. Spoilers, we loved it. So look for that to come in the podcast feed tomorrow being Friday, the 10th of September. So look for that. And then this episode that you're listening to right now, in the future, the power of podcasting will appear probably early next week on the feed. So let's move on a little bit. And since we're talking about trailers, let's talk about Spider-Man No Way Home, which a trailer that people have been literally begging for. Literally. Like, it was just nonstop. People on Twitter. This is the place I hang out. It's my connection to the real world. But it's not really. I know. It's not the real world. But
it's your reality.
That's right. It is just nonstop people demanding that, like, where's the Spider-Man trailer? Where is it? People just like that's all they care about.
It was close to getting violent.
It was. Let's just put it this way: it wasn't quite at the like release the Snyder cut like level. I don't think, but it was.
Hell no, they ain't reaching those levels.
For better or for worse, we'll say. And we anyway. The Spider-Man trailer dropped, and I gotta say, I am stoked. Am I more stoked than Matrix? I think it's hard to judge because this is just like gut feeling. I'm more intellectually interested in the Matrix 4, but it's
hard to compare the two. They're both doing so many right things here. And with Spider-Man just blowing the doors open on the multiverse and getting actors back who were in previous generations of Spider-Man movies. It's just what a treat we're about to partake in here. Like
it's just got all the coolest stuff. Like it's just like jam packed with the coolest stuff. And like obviously the trailer, I feel like when I watched it the first time, revealed so much. I feel like it just explained the entire movie to me.
Yeah, they had to get everybody up to speed and then just really really showcase how much Doctor Strange is involved here. And it's such a crazy concept that for Spider-Man to be not a mystery anymore, his identity. And they're like, okay, we understand that, but like we're gonna shift that up. We're gonna explain to you how that makes sense with Doctor Strange, but it's not gonna be an easy transition or even something that will be final. And it just gives us like, okay, like that's a really cool concept. Let's go have fun in this world. Let's see who shows up. Let's see how Peter takes this on, because this is unlike anything he's done before. It's everything he's done before, essentially, all in one. And we barely scratched the surface, on who's coming back, because this.
Oh, we lose Jeremy. Crap. No, he was gonna say something so interesting. Oh no. Okay, hold on. Quick pause. We'll get Jeremy back. We'll be give me 2 seconds. 3. Okay, we're back, everyone. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties. That's what happens when you don't record every day and you forget how to do stuff. Okay. Jeremy, you were saying you were excited because all these people were coming back.
That's what I was saying. That's it.
I honestly don't remember exactly, but I recall that being an element of it.
Yeah, and I guess I was just mentioning that like we barely scratched the surface because with Alfred Molina, Doc Ock, that was rumored.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
true. There
Mm-hmm.
were plenty of other rumors coming from the same places, and seemed like there's a lot of cover-ups, and that like we're basically getting back all the previous Spider-Man in terms of Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield. So you know,
Although they aren't listed, so I'm looking at you look at the IMDb, right?
I mean, they're gonna keep that the best kept secret, I think, if anything.
Yeah, I mean because but at the same time, like Willem Dafoe is listed here, right?
Yeah, well, we see the pumpkin bomb. It's his design. Could be his kids, I guess, or I guess the new Green Goblin from the
Right,
recent
or
Spider-Man movies. But
Hobgoblin or something like that.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, but I'm saying we've got in the credits on IMDb, Alfred Molina, Willem Dafoe, and Jamie Foxx are all listed there. So
yeah. I
you
mean,
know,
those ones are easy because they do the pumpkin bomb and the laugh, I think, which
mm-hmm.
is it could be Willem Dafoe's, and then they show like the lightning, which we really had Electro ones, which would be Jamie Foxx, and he even had an Instagram post where he said he's coming back. I think he deleted it shortly after that.
Yeah, I heard that,
So
he had deleted
a
his
lot
whole
of the
Instagram. Like I
villains,
don't know.
yeah, a lot of the villains just kind of let it all slip. Like maybe it's intentional, just to create some buzz. But and then I think Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield were both like spotted in the same city, like paparazzi pictures with like their typical Peter Parker haircuts. But like they've both of them have been pretty adamant that like they're trying to keep it a secret if they are indeed in it, which I just feel like it's probably gonna be the case. I mean,
Yeah,
you have
well,
Sam Raimi coming back to direct. Like, come on, like that's something that a lot of people are forgetting here too. Oh no, not this movie. Sorry,
no,
he's doing
no,
Doctor Strange.
he's doing Doctor Strange.
Yeah,
This movie is
but
John
Doctor Strange is
Watts.
in this
Yeah,
movie, and it's it's a lot of multiverse implications here, or the beginnings of it at least. And they'll get to Doctor Strange too. Yeah, people are coming back for sure. It's there was a whole joke, right, with the rumors, right? Like everyone's coming back, like,
yeah.
and then we'd mention like even random people coming back, and
Well, I mean, as are you concerned at all? We talked about Matrix 4. Are we worried that that's going to be member berries? Are we worried that
yeah, we said
Spider-Man
that we
is going to
said
be
that
that?
before there was even a trailer, and we
Yeah.
all these rumors were like, it's definitely sounds exciting, but like, is it going to take away from this Spider-Man trilogy and Tom Holland himself and like the MCU and what they're doing?
Jeremy, let me answer that question right now. 100% it will. Like that. Like
Yeah,
there's
but
just
then
no way it won't.
but then you watch this trailer and you're super stoked to the point where like this might be your most anticipated movie right now.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
So
It's
it's
I can be a hypocrite if I if I want to be.
no.
I just for me, there's a couple things. Yes, I want to see all these characters back. I love Tom Holland as Spider-Man. I think he's so good at it, like effortlessly good at being Peter Parker. You know?
And now he gets to be thrust into this crazy plot, right? Like this is
Yeah.
like, for a trilogy that has a lot of knocks on it for being baby Spider-Man or
Yeah.
Tony Stark Jr., Iron Man Jr.,
Yeah.
like, which I've had my gripes with too, but I also realize that Tom Holland's going to be around for a while, and I
Yeah.
kind of appreciate how we have this homecoming trilogy that at first seemed pretty low level, intro, but also really connected to the MCU. But this movie itself, like, just bringing in the multiverse, which essentially they teased in the last movie, right? With
Mm-hmm.
the twist with what's his name, Jake Gyllenhaal and
Yeah.
Mysterio.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like they're just going full on in here, and it's we knew this was going to happen. Like the race to the multiverse is a huge thing in the superhero space in the genre right now. DC's going to be
I
doing the
love
Flash.
I love Jeremy, but you call it there's a name. We have a name for it. The race to the multiverse. But again, talking about the regular folks out there in the world, and you're like, what do you think of the race to the multiverse? They'd be like, what are you
Yeah,
talking
but
about?
like they're
you
gonna
know?
quickly learn though, because the
Yeah.
multiverse is what it really means is just inclusion. It's all these branches of from these properties, right? That
Yeah.
because some people might be into the CW stuff or DC, and
Well,
and that might make an
that's
appearance and
true.
be an
They
Easter egg
100.
in
If you like that DC, if you like the CW DC stuff, the multiverse is the best thing that can happen.
And then if you're a Spider-Man fan, right, there's divisions within there. You're an Andrew Garfield guy, you're a Tobey Maguire guy, you're a Tom Holland guy. Like they're just gonna.
Wait, who's an Andrew Garfield guy? There's no
What do you
one.
mean?
There's
He you know what he get you give him a lot of flack because he wasn't your version
He's
of a
way
Peter
too
Parker.
cool.
But
He's way too cool to
yeah,
be Peter Parker. He's like, oh, the girls don't like me, but he's like the coolest dude. Like this is
well,
bullshit.
he just doesn't let that shit bother him. I guess right. They just tried to freshen up, do something a little bit different.
Yeah.
It is what it is. But I think Andrew Garfield is just an incredible actor, and there are some pretty special moments in those movies, and especially with the Gwen Stacy stuff and
Oh
how they
yeah.
handled the death and all that stuff. It's pretty brilliant actually. So it just has some really awkward things in terms of like the Rhino and even Jamie Foxx himself as Electro. But
Ugh.
this movie,
Yeah.
I feel like it's gonna be able to right some of those wrongs or shift some things.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a celebration of Spider-Man itself. It's just jumping ahead. It's putting Spider-Man in like the craziest scenario possible right now. All the odds just stacked up against him. Sinister Six looks like it's could be building, in this movie or just be an
Right, but
element of
like,
this movie.
see, that's the thing. So that there's two parts of me, right? There's the part of me that's like, yes, I want to see all this stuff. Give me J.K. Simmons just ripping him apart as J. Jonah. Give me the Green Goblin again. Give me all this stuff. The line, by the way, Alfred Molina's line when he says "Hello, Peter" at the end of that trailer, just like gives me chills. Like gives me chills just thinking about it now. That's how good it is. And obviously, Alfred Molina is a great actor. But no Keanu Reeves, obviously. But I'm just saying he's just kind of he's Neo in all of his roles, and that's okay.
Okay, you know
That's
what?
all.
That's
okay.
down before, and then you got a second wind or something. Some confidence.
Yeah,
I got
it's stuck in my craw. It's stuck in my craw. Okay, I'm done with it now. I'm done. It's over. But the other part of me is it knows that Spider-Man's on his way out the door. We're losing him to, I mean, maybe not necessarily permanently. We don't know how that all this stuff works, but
it's going to go back and forth. That's the reason why multiverse is happening so quick too right now. It allows them the freedom to just kind of travel throughout and do whatever.
Yeah, it like okay. So
you're
saying
Sony, you know what? No matter what they say, they want to be attached to the MCU. They want to be attached to Kevin Feige. Marvel Studios doesn't miss. You know what I mean? Like they have some movies that we might not be fans of or forgettable, but like it's just a train that you just want to be a part of. You want to be on, and they just have had Spider-Man for so long, and they've had legendary runs with Spider-Man in terms of the first one or the first,
right.
2 movies of the first one.
Yeah.
And they're not just going to give that up or play second fiddle. They want to take command of it, and you got Venom. They're going to rebrand their Spider-Man universe. They're just going to call it Sony Spider-Man universe instead of the whole Sony of the MCU.
Do you remember what was they had a really weird name. It had like a funny acronym that made it sound like an STD.
Yeah, it was just silly.
Yeah.
And yeah, you have who was the CEO of Disney at the time or whatever. Like he was like said he made a few phone calls.
He's like,
don't remember that
we got this.
when like it's just so funny like
they
like spun it. Like there's no way like any of that shit happened. Like it was just sour
so you
business deals.
You think all this Spider-Man stuff about how he was like leaving the MCU is all bullshit? Like I don't think so. I don't think that let stuff out of that.
No. I'm saying that you legitimately had 2 companies battling it out.
Fighting over a character.
Saying we're gonna pull this or don't do this. Yeah, I'm not saying that was bullshit. I'm saying like that was happening, but then the way they made it seem like it was amended, like Tom Holland like phoned the CEO of Disney,
right?
And then and Bob Iger, right? And then he goes on like Jimmy Fallon and talks about it, and then sells his book right after,
right?
I
mean, I guess there's always going to be some showmanship in Hollywood. I'm okay with that. There's just part of me that's just a little concerned, a little worried about what Spider-Man without Kevin Feige. Tom Holland now he's like, hey, I'm over in Sonyverse, and by the way, gotta suck if you're Tom Holland a little bit to be like, you signed up for the MCU, you're really excited, you're gonna be a part of the Avengers, and now it's like, oh no, Sony owns you, man, and now you got to go fight it out with Tom Hardy's Venom, you know, like so that's
Well, I
like
mean, it's so popular though. Tom Hardy and Venom, it did well, right?
yeah,
It
but that
did
movie
like.
sucks, Jeremy. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like that movie sucks. I
I'm
was
in
talking so
agreement, but there's good elements and
sure.
just the idea of Venom and Spider-Man, right? That playing
Yep.
out in live action. We had a tease of it. It was rushed in the third Raimi movie,
Yep.
right? It just, critically panned and it just didn't work out. Uh, and now you have, you know, Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock Venom. Like, come on.
I mean that
And
is
then,
I
and when
mean
you, and then when you talk about
fair.
that movie, what do you say?
I say Tom Hardy's the best part of
Yeah.
it. Yeah, that's true.
So
His
And
performance
even
is worth the price of
even
admission.
Tom Hardy, I think on Instagram on a story or something like a while ago, he put like a fan art of like Venom and Spider-Man fighting, or like Venom like kind of like owning
Yeah.
Spider-Man, and like kind of mentioning Tom Holland Spider-Man. That's to me is just exciting. Like these actors are going to eventually like face off. Like these are
Yeah.
huge actors.
So here's best case scenario for me. Okay, we get Spider-Man goes off into the multiverse and we lose him for a little bit and he's off doing his Sony stuff. The best case scenario for that in my mind is we get a down to earth Spider-Man swinging around New York City, um, versus I don't know if they do the Lizard, like a more classic villain, right? Kind of a reset, but this
For
time with
what?
Tom
Sorry,
Holland.
for when? Like
I don't know. I'm talking like okay, we have Homecoming, or sorry, No Way Home
you're saying after this trilogy,
after this trilogy. Yeah,
you're saying that you want what exactly?
I'm saying I want a Spider-Man movie with Tom Holland that's a little bit more traditional. Is what I'm saying. You know, give me New York City, and he's an adult Spider-Man. It doesn't really adult, just like he's. It's not a reboot. It's not. We're not retreading anything. He's just Spider-Man in New York City. We haven't really had that. You know, that was my biggest complaint with Far From Home, which was that like, yes, it's cool to see Spider-Man and Mysterio and all this kind of stuff, but it's like, man, Spider-Man when he's not at New York, which by the way, even in Homecoming when he's in Washington, it's like no, like I want to see him in New York City. Like that's where he does his best stuff, and I don't feel like we haven't got that.
Yeah, but that was part of my
yet.
earlier point, right? Where like this is the junior trilogy where we kind of set him
Mm-hmm.
up like actually in high school as a kid, and we're gonna get to the point where he is an adult, where he's got more threats, bigger villains, uh,
Right.
and even in this movie too, right? Like we know that Craven the Hunter is going to be a major part of this movie, and there's none of
Wait,
that.
what? What are you talking about? Is it we knew that? When did
Yeah,
we know
we
that?
did. He was
Who's playing Craven?
um, uh, the Quicksilver from Age of Ultron.
What? No, that
Yes.
doesn't make any sense.
Why doesn't that make any sense?
Because Quicksilver from Age of Ultron was already in the MCU. That doesn't make any. What are you talk? What? No.
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
I don't.
Look
I
it
think
up.
you're wrong on that one, but
No,
that's
I'm
fine.
right on this one.
It's fine. But yeah, like for instance, like just a classic Craven the Hunter story would be sweet, you know. But now it's a little muddled. It's a little muddy. That's
Yeah.
all. I'm not. I don't want to dampen expectations. This looks freaking sweet. Like I can't express enough how badly I want to see Alfred Molina again as Doc Ock. Like that alone is
Yeah.
worth the price of
Like
admission.
when it was all rumors and we heard what was happening, who's coming back, like it seemed
Like too good to be
just
true.
too good to be
Like
true, and just
yeah,
kind of construed and just like check this, check that. They'll come then if we do this and that. But kind of seeing it play out and seeing how deep Peter, he's in here, how what level it's at with Doctor Strange involved in the multiverse. Like, it just seems like such an exciting adventure he'll be on with so many major threats that give you that tip that adult Spider-Man where he
yeah,
has all these villains, rogues gallery, if you will, kind of just at bay and they pop up whenever. Now it's all just kind of thrown in a blender with everything before it, and he's got to come out the other side, and he's
yeah.
obviously he's going to, but it's going to be just a thrilling ride,
I
as
guess
he goes through.
ultimately, like finding out how this movie ends and like where it leaves Spider-Man, whether it's in regards to the MCU or just generally speaking, I think is the
Well,
most
we know
fascinating
that
thing.
it's going to end with um, not the entire world knowing his identity.
Well, I mean, because
It's going to
you
reset
can't just
that.
have Spider-Man.
Yeah.
No one can just know who
It's
Spider-Man
going
is.
to
It doesn't work
reset
that way.
that. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's like another weird thing with the trailer too. It's like we didn't know that was going to happen. We didn't know Doctor Strange was just going to
Right.
pull a
Which is like
spell out
tells
of
you
his
so
ass and
much.
just
Yeah.
and do this and set this whole plot up. Like, so, but like they were able to convince us with it though. You know what I mean? Like when you said they show us so much, it's like it made so much sense. It's like, okay, cool. Like that's pretty dope.
Well, because you're
Now
like,
we can
because
play around in this Spider-Man
yeah,
sandbox that
uh,
spans decades.
yeah. All right, fair enough. All right, you sold me, Jeremy. I was like, I was already in, but I just wanted to. I was playing devil's advocate a bit. I just wanted to see, kind of like, can you, Jeremy, kind of like speak to these concerns that I think regular folks, have. I think, if you're a fan of Spider-Man, you might be worried about some of those things. So I think you did a great job defending it. I think
Thank
that was
you.
good stuff.
Appreciate it.
Okay, let's turn the page one more time. Let's talk about another trailer. We're going to talk about Injustice, the DC animated film. This is the next DC animated film, and this
We
is going to
finally
be
get evil Superman.
because we Jeremy, that's very funny.
Well, that's just that. I mean, if you're on like Twitter or you're just like in the
Yeah.
DC, that's already that gets thrown around a lot these
It's
days.
the goat. It's the easy joke, Jeremy. It's the
Yeah,
low
it's the
hanging
easy one.
fruit. Yeah, it's like because I listen to the Slash Film guys. They're not called the Slash Film guys anymore. They're the film cast. But they're just talking about they're just constantly talking about when Superman comes up. It's like, man, it's such a shame that like we've only had like the kids these days. The only version of Superman they've seen is kind of this like angry version, and it's like it's kind of unfortunate. Obviously,
Yeah, I
it
mean, they
discounts
always
all
joke
the other
around
versions.
about that and say it's like I think they're a little over dramatic, but like it's just like ruined these characters for a decade if we're talking about the Snyder stuff specifically.
Right.
But this joke in and of itself, it's like they'll like people will make memes and they'll extract images from like even the new Superman and Lois TV show where like
Right. Yeah.
the Superman like he has his moments where he's smiling with the bright suit and then like there's these dark toned images where he's battling people and he's just gritting his teeth with the red eyes and just like going
Yeah.
haywire and it's like this shit's everywhere but it gets like blamed solely on like this one space and
Yes.
that's kind of like the divide of like where you fall in it where you're slash film
Well, like
guys or on myself or
that's also just like that's just at DC alone. You could also
yeah.
look at like
But then
obviously
it's
we
like,
just saw
why is there even a debate over this when like we're getting this Injustice movie where we're making a
right.
joke of it, but it's actually part of this character's like range or
Yes.
dynamic, and it's gatekeeping to a certain degree to be like, okay, we don't want that, we want this, and that's just like kind of where we are. But it's like
Well, I think Jeremy. I think
Injustice is so cool with like
yeah.
what they did with that comic that like and the video game itself, like let's just enjoy this and not try to rehash this lame like
Well, and it's ultimately
thing.
like this isn't a live action version of Injustice,
Yeah.
guys. Like this is a movie they turned around in 8 months or whatever it is, and it's probably longer. I don't know what the cycle is. I don't know when they start work on these,
But
but
that's the
maybe
thing with
it's
Snyder is
approaching
like
a year, but
essentially they extracted live action Injustice
in a lot of
potential
ways,
futures
yeah.
in a lot of ways, which is cool. But some people don't find that cool. So
No, so I think Jeremy, it's more than just Snyder stuff. I think it's like the combination of The Boys and Invincible. Like those are like we just get evil Superman and like variants on the evil Superman in both of those, and it's like, man, okay, we get it.
and then we like it here, and then not like it there, and then he like it here.
It's because it's like
crazy.
I think we're at a saturation point. I think is what it is. We've seen a lot of evil Superman lately, or versions of an evil Superman. So maybe like maybe the pendulum starts to swing back the other way, and we're gonna get that bright, cheery, Christopher Reeves style Superman again.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know if the world's ready for that. Are we in a place in the world? I mean, maybe the world needs that. Is a better place. Like maybe we need bright, cheerful Superman again. But speaking of animated DC movies, the last Superman one that they did, which was kind of like a retread, or retread's not fair, a reboot, kind of a retelling of the origin story with a little bit of a few updates. I thought was really good, until the third act. But that has that much more cheerful version of Superman. So if you're looking for that, you can find that there.
And people are raving about Superman and Lois, the new TV show. Like, there's a lot of like hardcore fans for this show. So I'm saying it's the best iteration of Superman since Smallville or Christopher Reeves. Like, there's a major divide in the Superman community for sure right now.
Well, yeah. It's tough. It's tough being a Superman fan these days. But that being said, you do have your own show, so that's more than you can say if you're a Batman fan.
And for you too, I'm surprised you're not watching that show. Or
I just, Jeremy,
because maybe it's the Superman. Maybe it's the Superman you need right now.
Maybe it is. Maybe it is. I just feel like that's so funny because I feel like I've just lost all interest in the CW stuff, and I don't know if it's because of how they treated Superman. It's not really, because I thought he was pretty cool in some of the places I've seen him, but maybe I'm just spoiled by like blockbuster versions of Superman. But he just feels so toned down in a lot of ways. And I haven't seen enough of Superman and Lois Lane to be able to make that call 100%. But that's just the sense I get, it's a feeling I get. But maybe that's not the case. Maybe it's like, no, this is balls to the wall Superman stuff, and you should be invested. I don't know. So if that is the case, if you're listening to this, please at me on Twitter at Tower Babblecast and let me know. Sell it to me, because I'll give it a shot. Why not? Nothing to lose. I got nothing but time. Jeremy, I've been watching She-Ra on Netflix, and so all I'm saying, and by the way, great show. I gotta admit, the animation's great. The story is kind of, I'm in the 5th season now. It's kind of just Star Wars. It's just doing Star Wars, but that's okay. It's still really fun. It's fun to watch these characters grow and change as kind of this close-knit group that kind of evolves over the entire course of the thing. So what I'm saying is, I've got the time. So if you're saying, hey, Julian, this is a great Superman show, I'm willing to give it a shot. So anyway, back to the Injustice stuff. It looks to me like they are. It's not really the same new animation style that we've gotten. Do you get that same sense? It feels like a little bit more like the one that we just had, the former version.
Yeah, maybe somewhere in between. Not as simplistic, which is fine. I'm fine with that. I don't think they all need to have a cohesive look, unless they, like before, when they were more connected.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
it looks like it's kind of aping the look from the comic a little bit in the game. These kind of bulkier.
Yeah, you almost have to, because
figures.
the suit designs for everyone, right? Like, because it's from the video game, it's they just try to do something a little bit more different, because there's customization, and it's kind of like an armor based customization thing. Swap out this, swap out that, add more layers to the suit, more pieces. There's like head pieces to the Superman characters, things like that, and then just like this regime that he has, right? This being this dictator almost, or this powerhouse, right? Like, he kind of has to have like the showmanship, kind of like how the Boys does with their main character, and his over the top suit.
Homelander,
right?
Yeah, that's fair. And the other thing that I'm a little worried about, not a fan, didn't love the voice acting I heard. Like, I didn't love the choices necessarily. It's interesting cast. Like, I'm not I'm not opposed to trying it.
I think it's a decent cast. There's some pretty cool names.
It just didn't jump out at me as being like feeling as epic as it maybe should. I'm in an interesting place with the DC movies where it's almost like each one has a very wide, like, with the same characters but widely different casts every time, and it throws me off a little bit. Like, I need to warm up to these new, like, who's Batman this time? It's Anson Mount. Anson Mount, by the way, an actor that I like. He plays Captain Pike in Star Trek Discovery, and he's great as that. But like, and obviously Laura Bailey, another great voice actress. She's gonna play Lois. Gillian Jacobs from Community. She's Harley Quinn. There's good voice actors here. I'm just saying that feels like every time we're doing another one of these, it's like here's another take on these characters, and it's like I kind of miss the days where, like, just Batman was just always voiced by Kevin Conroy, and you just knew if your Batman was going to be in a movie, that's who it was going to be. And it was Jim Daly or whatever his name was, who was doing Superman, and that's just, when you did Superman, that's who it was, and you just kind of attached that voice to that character, and it's just not the way. It's just maybe it's just not the way you can do it anymore. We're just beyond that. But so for me, that's it. I have a hard time with that. But like, there's really cool characters here. We got Mirror Master, Captain Atom, Green Arrow's in here, Catwoman, Mr. Terrific is going to make an appearance. There's Green Lantern, Cyborg.
Yeah, did you see that Green Lantern is like trending on Netflix or something like that? Like, it's like in the top 5.
Wait, like recently, like,
yeah, like
today?
Yeah, I think so. Unless that's a joke I saw, but like, that'd be wild if that's the case.
Well, I mean, here's my take on the stuff that's trending on Netflix. Netflix doesn't have that much good stuff. That's my hot take. It's their own Netflix content. Jeremy, you mentioned there's that trailer for, what's it called? The Rock. And we have the director from Wonder Woman 1984 come out and say that these Netflix movies, these movies that are direct to the small screen feel disposable. They don't. I think she said they don't feel like real movies.
They feel like fake or something.
Yeah,
And
which
then
is like
immediately just bombarded with screenshots from Wonder Woman 1984 and like the sequence where like she's being blown in the wind and like she just like is like climbing against the side of a building and stuff.
Fair enough. I mean, and she definitely got like raked over the coals. I think right fairly. I would say because she could have waited a little while before making comments like that. But I think you're right. There's a lot of people in the filmmaking world that are a little upset with the different kind of the way things are going. But where was I going with this? Netflix. Their own content does feel disposable, and I'm saying that like I agree with her in some respects because the Netflix stuff. If you watch a Netflix original movie, it's like, oh, there's an actor I know. There's a couple of actors. I'll give that a shot, right? That seems interesting enough. And you watch it and you're like, you'll forget you watched it like 2 minutes after you've seen it. And they're like, and even while you're watching, you're like, this isn't very good. Like they're kind of designed to be watched while you're on your phone, just doing other stuff. Yikes. And that it makes me a little sad. So when you have movies like Green Lantern, or I don't know if you saw Edge of Tomorrow, just appeared on our Netflix up in Canada, and they jump right to the top of the trending list because they're Green Lantern aside, good movies, right? Or at least they're like full length feature.
People are just yearning
big
for
movies.
some GL right now. They're just like, where
that might be
is
that might
this
be
thing?
it. That might be it.
It's been 10 years.
Yeah, I mean,
11.
Okay, so do you think? Here's the question then, Jeremy. Are you thinking that they're going to try to bring back Ryan Reynolds as Green Lantern at some point?
No.
You think that's
rumors
ship
that
has sailed?
Him and Snyder were talking to potentially, get him into the Justice League cut there. But no, like they have the HBO. All we really know is the HBO show that has the $100 million budget, 10 episodes, going to be focusing on different generations of Green Lanterns, including Guy Gardner, Alan Scott, kind of secondary lanterns, not necessarily like a John Stewart or Hal Jordan.
That's the Green Lantern Corps, I think, right? That's what it's called.
Well, it's very mixed. I mean, yeah, I think the show is called Corps, but I even think the movie was supposed to be called Green Lantern Corps.
That was the buddy cop one.
Yeah, but they're all just rumors and whatnot. Like it's just, they haven't. They're in they've been in crisis mode behind.
They don't know what to do with Green Lantern. Is really and to be fair.
Well, there's just so many expectations, so much trolling, so much this and that, so much drama behind the scenes with creatives and writers. It's just they need to launch something. What do they have right now? They got Aquaman was a success, Wonder Woman was a success, second movie sucked. Third one's on the way. Aquaman 2's on the way. We got Shazam 1 and Shazam 2.
Yeah.
You got Harley Quinn, Margot Robbie sticking around. She's in her own movie. She's in Suicide Squad.
Right.
You might be getting Suicide Squad sequel, probably.
There's a show coming too. There's the Peacemaker show coming. Yeah.
But other than that, like all their mainstay stuff, Batman right now, when that comes out, that's going to be its own, own
separate
thing.
Yep.
And then the Green Lantern, that's just, they want to say stuff, but it just keeps changing, it keeps evolving, right? The movie, now a show they're focusing on. So who knows?
Yeah, and we were talking before the show. We were talking about how DC fandom is right around the corner, and I recall correctly, there wasn't much Green Lantern stuff at the last one. Like
they definitely gave a short stick there for that.
Yeah,
but as a whole though, the whole fandom thing was a pretty
massive
much a success, like critically and just kind of what you got from it.
I personally loved how it was done. Like I thought it was just like you just sit in front of the TV and you're gonna get these glimpses at cool stuff. You're gonna get like these interviews with actors. Some of it's gonna be good, some of it's gonna be less good. And obviously, I'm just talking about like the main feed, but there was multiple feeds.
You could tune into whatever you wanted to, right? You didn't have to like
totally
view everything.
So I just thought it was like. Then it was just like you go to this one place and it all exists here, and it most of these online digital events. I've been to a lot of these like online conferences through work, and obviously it's very different. I get it, but they often feel, again, speaking of disposable, just super disposable, and DC fandom felt essential. Like if you're a DC fan, you need to be watching this. Like you have, like this is like your Comic-Con. This is whatever that version of that is now in a post-COVID world. But by the way, it's coming October 16th. That's it's 10 days before my birthday. Everyone remember that. 44 days till now. So
Yeah,
54
and
till my
we'll
birthday.
probably get a new Batman trailer, Black Adam teaser trailer, maybe even Flash.
Well, probably Flash. Yeah.
You
Aquaman
got the 2
2.
video games, the Gotham Knights and the Suicide Squad video game.
Well, yeah, because you haven't seen anything from them since the last
Yeah.
DC fandom. So
And
there's just gonna be a lot.
Batman Cape Crusader, which is the Bruce Timm JJ cartoon.
Yes.
Which is essentially a spiritual successor to Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah. So there's been a lot of asking people. Like I saw a tweet, I think it was a poll or whatever today on Twitter, basically saying like, "Hey, should Kevin Conroy voice Batman in this new animated series?" And first blush, I was just talking about how loved it when he was voicing Batman all the time. First blush, I want to say, yeah, absolutely, right? But if you want to kind of establish a successor, like who's the next Kevin Conroy, right? Can you find that person? That's that's really hard, but if you can, that's whoever you think is going to fill those shoes, those boots, that cowl, quote unquote. Whoever you think is going to who can do that, they should star in this show. They should make that the place to launch the new Batman, because people say, who's your favorite Batman? So many people say Kevin Conroy. It's crazy because most people don't know the name of any voice actors. So I'm not saying you can never necessarily get to that level again. I don't know if you're going to get to a point where you're going to be doing theatrical films based off this television show. Probably not. But I think this is the time and place to launch that new. This is your voice of Batman, and he's going to be Batman in the video games. He's going to be Batman in our animated movies, and there's certainly people they can choose from. There's lots, but that's fascinating to me. What do you think? What would you want to do there?
What do you mean, like
new Kevin Conroy or new actor or someone we've seen before? What
I'm Kevin Conroy till he dies, man. Like I think that's fine. Like,
you think we have enough Kevin Conroy?
New actors, new takes over the years. None of them have stuck. None of them have said, "Oh, it's a new Kevin Conroy." Like maybe you have your favorites. Like we were talking about the guy who did Under the Red Hood.
Red Hood, yeah.
The older actor, he was in Star Trek and stuff. And,
mm-hmm.
He was awesome.
I'm thinking of, well, and obviously we have who's the new guy who just did it recently. There's just like there's interesting takes. Well, like from Halloween, from speaking of the CW, Jeremy, help me out here, from Supernatural, the guy from Supernatural. Anyway, yeah. So he just did the voice, and we both liked his version of Batman. That being said, I don't know if I'm ready to commit to him being Batman for the next Jensen Ackles for the next 20 years. I don't think so. I don't think I'm ready for that. But I will say you're right. I mean, if it was up to me, if Kevin Conroy would never die, if doing voice acting and doing the Batman voice wasn't hard on him, which it probably is now, if that wasn't the case, absolutely, then Kevin Conroy should voice Batman for the rest of time. And we're kind of at that point with the Joker, where we have a Mark Hamill's version, which is obviously iconic, but then we have a version of Mark Hamill's Joker that we get, who was also just recently in The Long Halloween. Yeah, Troy Baker, who's just kind of doing an imitation of that version of Batman, but it works for me. Like, it's close enough. It's slightly different enough to be different, but also not just be like a straight copy. But it's close enough that it still maintains some of those core elements.
It just has that playfulness to it that Mark Hamill brings.
Yeah, but by the way, so Kevin Pollak plays the Joker in this Injustice movie. He has a couple lines of dialogue in the trailer, and I just thought it was brutal. I don't know.
Well, that was like for me in The Long Halloween. It was Commissioner Gordon. Like I was like, man, this is just completely wrong.
Okay, so I guess since we're on the DC front, you mentioned we were recording. We got a few bits, some rumors about the Batman.
Yeah, I mean, all I'm seeing is there was some sort of test screenings. That's usually what they do for films, like kind of get get some opinions from audience viewings and see where they're at, see if they can follow this or if this makes sense or this doesn't work for them. And apparently, what they're saying is that it's about 3 hours long. We were talking earlier that for me at least, it might be on the long side for kind of like a reinvention or just kind of a new take on, a pretty major character, that everyone knows about. But if that's the case, that it is what it is. But they're also saying that
Right.
it's very dark, very violent. When people complain about like dark and gritty superhero movies, like it just seems like this is, going in that direction times
Yeah, but I think
10. So,
yes, it's people do complain about dark and gritty superhero movies.
well, people complain regardless.
Yeah,
I'm
that'll be
not
true.
justifying it.
That's
People
true.
complain because there's a lot of people complaining or whatever.
But I mean, I think Batman of all the places, like if you're making a Batman movie, you can do that. I think, and no one's
You can
going to
do
be
what?
like, oh, you can be dark and gritty and angry and dark,
Yeah, I
and
think
people
it
will be
makes
okay
total
with it.
sense, and it's just how you do that with
Yeah.
that character.
So I mean, I've probably said 3 movies are my most anticipated movie. I just I think about the version, like this version of the Batman we're gonna get, and I just think like I think it's gonna be so good, and I know I'm setting myself up for disappointment when I say stuff like that, but like everything we've seen from that first trailer last year, to
It's gonna
like
be good, but it's gonna be very
yeah.
different, right? And that's gonna be, I think, the battle a lot of people have is if it's gonna be too much for people, like how different it is. And
But like, what do you mean by different? Like, do you think it's not enough gadgets, or like not like what are they?
no, I don't think it's anything with that. I think it's in terms of just how like there's rumors of just like the duality of the character and like how Pattinson plays it and how
Mhm.
how we'll be familiar with both sides, which I think for us just being kind of like hardcore nerds,
Sounds
I think that's
fascinating.
what we're all
Yeah,
about. Like,
yeah,
people just call it cape shit or it's for children. It's like we just think these characters are cool when they're explored in these types of ways, especially with like this inner monologue that this character might have with oneself or this battle with these two different ideologies or whatever
right.
and balancing the two. I think that's what intrigues me the most about this, but I feel like that might rub people the wrong way as well.
You
um,
think so? With the rumors that he has, like, he's gonna be talking to himself, basically, in
well,
some
like just
degree.
really exploring the duality, I guess, of the
Yeah,
two characters,
Batman
right?
and Bruce. Yeah,
Yeah, and like we like we said, like we just said, like we just find that interesting, and even just the whole notion of what's the real mask, like what's the real, like
yeah,
we like for us being Batman fans, we know it's like Bruce Wayne isn't like Bruce Wayne is dead essentially, like it's
yeah.
Batman
He
is,
died in the streets of Crime Alley at 10 years
but
old.
that's
Yeah,
the face he puts on when he's in the public eye. It's
right.
the facade.
Yeah, and like like that's the thing, Jeremy. You're right. Like we have explored these ideas a lot, right, in different mediums, whether it's the comics, whether it's
Yeah, well, we're
the
getting
animated
animated
shows,
movies
whatever.
every other
Yeah,
month. You know what I mean? Like
exactly.
it's just reiterations of the same thing over and over and over again, which I'm beginning to question. I don't know, not like in a negative way, but it's just like this. It's just crazy. Like
Like
where
where's the
else?
new story?
Well, it's like where
Yeah,
else do you see this? You know what I mean? Like what other fandom, you know, took
yeah.
it this much or
I was
whatever.
thinking about that earlier today. It's like, can we retell these same stories at infinitum and not eventually just be like, no, this, like, we're done with this. Like that might happen. I like because no, the answer is no, you can't. um, but there is new stories to tell, and that's the thing. These
But I
these
don't know if
characters
that's
are
I don't
flexible
know if
enough.
that's the answer though. Like how can you answer that like fully right now, right? Like
It's too. I mean, now
look at
we're
when
still
we
in the
look at the
swing of it.
characters we're talking about though, right? Like what anniversary do these characters just celebrate?
Yeah, 75th.
Yeah, or 85 even, I think.
Yeah. So it's like it's it's
They're
it's
timeless characters.
unthinkable.
It's
Yeah.
just every now and then you have to reinvent it. You know what I mean? But like,
Right.
uh,
And so in the comic books, what do? They'll kill a character
well,
off.
that's what Injustice is, right?
They'll
That's why
yeah.
Injustice it's coming out because it's a different uh, take. Even though people are trying to, diminish that take, right?
Well, yeah, and
Because
that's
it's not the
and
favorite take, or it
yeah.
is the favorite take, and we're like, okay, well, we want the classic take, or we want something new.
Well, no one's ever satisfied, but
Yeah,
I think that comes back to what you're saying earlier, Jeremy, about the multiverse, which is like it ultimately what the multiverse does is allows you to tell new stories with the same characters, right? Variants, variances, versions of, I think just watch What If, which I think started off, I think, slow, but is really ramped up. And this most recent one was really, really good. But the one that I'm thinking of specifically is the Doctor Strange one, which has a very bold ending. And I just thought it's like, man, I understand why you can't tell this version of the story on the big screen necessarily, but I like that we can explore it at all, and that we're in a place now with Marvel, with comic book movies generally, that you can use this character, the character of Stephen Strange, to explore not just the noble elements of his character, but to explore these kind of darker elements and these more human elements, right? Because that's what people are compelled by. Like, what, human stories are what people care about. But ultimately, superhero movies are human stories told at the biggest scale, right? What does it mean to lose your parents? What does that drive you to do, right? What does it mean to be the last of your kind? Like, these are kind of human. We can understand some of these core elements, but it's like fantastical. But that's what'll allow it to continue. But if it just becomes retreads of the same thing we've seen over and over and over and over again, that's when you start to worry, right? So anyway, we've been recording for an hour, and we've talked about 3 trailers, and a little bit of everything.
We didn't even get to the Red Notice trailer, really.
Well, what do you want to say about that?
I just want to say as a joke, it's like, what a completely forgettable trailer with like these massive stars, on this massive platform that we've been hearing about forever, and this new rock movie with Gal Gadot and Ryan Reynolds, and it's just
who gives
cares?
a shit? Yeah. What do you think that says? Do you think that says that the age of the movie star is over? Like, even if The Rock can't compel you,
just the trailer. Like, honestly, like when I was watching it, like I was very like, The Rock looks good in this movie. Like, he looks like he's having a good time. He looks like he's acting good in it. Like, even maybe, Ryan Reynolds just there for the comedic relief. Gal Gadot looked brutal.
Are you losing faith in Gal Gadot, Jeremy?
No, it just again, it's just a trailer. Like, she had like a kind of funny moment towards the end, I remember, but I don't know. It's just like they're just trying to like get us all hyped on this new movie with these huge actors, but I don't know why I need to be hyped other than the fact that it's just 3 huge actors.
Yeah, what bugs me with some of these movies, it's like, I don't know who's directed this movie, by the way, Jeremy, but I would like to, like, what I thought was really fascinating was that, like, David Fincher, when he did Mank, right, for Netflix, it was David Fincher just like, just do your thing, man, right? And Mank, love it or hate it, is at least interesting.
Just a snooze fest.
But it's at least interesting, right? Maybe not, maybe you don't think so, but I thought so, as a concept, as something to try to do. Where are the auteurs? We're seeing like Villeneuve, who's going to be releasing Dune. Like, that's fucking cool. That's, if that was coming out on Netflix, I just don't think I would have, right now as it exists today, I'd be very concerned. I'd be worried that it would suck. And I'm not worried about that with Dune right now. But when I see movies like this, even with actors that I like, it's like I just can't care, and I don't know why that is. I think, and I'm sure, and by the way, I'm sure Netflix is hyper aware of this, because it's become part of the zeitgeist, this idea of Netflix movies being disposable. So, what does that mean for them? Like, do they care about that, or they just need you to kind of just keep subscribed for the next Witcher season or whatever? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, but we're coming to an inflection point in the movie industry that's going to be very fascinating, right? As all these studios move to streaming as this primary concept, what does that mean for the actual content we get, the actual movies that we get? And it feels like there's so much more television shows than there are movies now, and I like TV. I love TV. But there's something to be said about going to the movie theater, and like we saw Shang-Chi, gave me a different vibe than any of those I agree with you, Jeremy. In any of those Marvel TV shows, and I loved Loki. I thought Loki was really good, and I loved WandaVision. And there was also Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but but there's just something different about it. And like it's maybe I'm an old breed, maybe I'm an old soul, when it comes to that kind of stuff. But I don't know. I think there's something to be said about going out to the movie theater, and it kind of. That being said, of course, Jeremy, we went out to the movie theater and saw that. What the hell is that movie with? It was there's a lot of bad movies we've seen in the movie theaters. I would say too. It's like, okay, fair enough. You can go and see shitty movies. I'm thinking of that. What the hell was that movie called? It was in high school. No, you were there, and it was like this. It was something about like people living in these robot bodies because they didn't want surrogates. Thank you, Jeremy. Yes. That movie might be one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life.
You dragged me to that movie. I
did. I thought it was going to be good. And I was wrong.
When movies will suck.
Well, good thing you have a podcast then.
Or TV shows like Iron Fist.
Well, yeah. So I'm a big fan of the Screen Crush recaps that they do. I think he's just really the guy who does it really, really sharp. Of course, he has a whole team behind him and all that stuff. But Ryan Airy is his name, and he was doing a recap of Shang-Chi, and I was watching that, and like they're calling out the references and all that stuff. And there's a reference to, he's like, and this thing happened. We actually got to see that in Iron Fist, and it was just quick pause. Man, that show freaking sucks. And then just carried on with the rest of it, because it's like unbelievably bad. It's kind of like, I feel bad just kind of beating it while it's down. It's just not really fair. And it made me think, and I swear we're gonna wrap up in just 2 seconds. It made me think about what's the future for those characters that were on Netflix, like Daredevil and Punisher and the rest. Like what happened because of Iron Fist and kind of the way it kind of fizzled at the end. Because Daredevil was awesome when it started, and so was Punisher. And Jessica Jones, the first season of Jessica Jones is like top-notch television, like really good stuff. Like, are those characters ever going to be in the MCU, or do they ruin it for themselves? Like they're kind of not ability to stick the landing. What do you think?
Those characters, are they coming back?
Yeah, like do you think we'll ever see them in the MCU? Like played by those actors.
There's heavy rumors that Daredevil will come back in the new Spider-Man movie. Which
but that's every time.
But the thing with Spider-Man, it's it could be very well true. Alfred Molina is back from the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie, so and even if he is back from that series, it doesn't necessarily mean that it'll continue on. It could just be like a cool Easter egg. But if he is coming back, maybe they want to go further after that, because after this huge shakeup with Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, and this huge spell or whatever, like things are gonna just be a certain way that makes sense. Story-wise and business-wise, I guess, right?
Yeah. I think we'll see a Daredevil movie again. I'm
for sure, yeah.
I believe that. And if it's played by Charlie Cox, I don't know. He's not a movie star, quote unquote, but Marvel makes movie stars. Neither was Sam, from Simu Liu. Thank you. He was a sitcom guy on CBC, So I'm just saying if that can happen, anything can happen. So take it with a grain of salt. Anyway. Let's wrap up there. You can find everything we do at towerbabble.ca. Follow us on Twitter at TowerBabbleCast, Facebook.com/TowerBabbleCast, and head over to Patreon.com/TowerBabbleCast. Throw us $5 a month. Get access to our film club and help keep the lights on over here at the Tower. We'll be back with more Tower Babble very soon, and we'll talk to you then.